Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas Construction update video.
Well, welcome to Wednesday, the 4th of January, 2023 at a very busy Giga Texas. And for those wondering, yes, they are doing production and there's a lot of activity with a lot more Model Ys coming out the south end, going to the east transportation lot, being picked up and moved off site. So it's back to business as usual. A couple of things I want to talk about first. As you can see here, I want to say congratulations to Tesla for an outstanding quarter of deliveries and production of vehicles, 40% year over year on the deliveries, 47% on production, and that is just outstanding. In addition to that, over 1.3 million vehicles both delivered and produced for 2022. And I think it's outstanding. I just want to say congratulations to all the people in this factory and all the other factories doing a lot of the hard work to make this happen. So I'll let everybody else out on social media interpret what they want to interpret, but take some time to appreciate the work that they're doing as well. Now, a couple other things, as you can see here, on the 1st of March, Tesla is going to be holding the Investors Day also here at Giga Texas, which is pretty cool. And as you can see on this image here, there's some very interesting topics that they're going to be discussing. And also, this is going to be open to some retail and institutional investors, so it should be quite an interesting event. And I don't know if I'm going to go or not, but I hope that I can, and if so, I'll try to cover some of the activities inside. But some of the things they're going to talk about are the most advanced production line and a tour of that here in this factory, which is pretty cool. They're going to talk about the long-term expansion plans for Tesla, probably more factories, gigafactories as well. They're going to talk about the Generation 3 platform, which is very exciting, and I know a lot of people out in social media have been clamoring to hear about that. Well, it looks like they're going to talk about that here at Giga Texas. They're going to talk about the capital allocation of their funds, which is outstanding, and then some other topics with some key leadership here at Giga Texas. Now, for the intro, a couple of things that I want to talk about specifically first. As you can see on this image here, on the south end, that platform for the third floor of General Assembly, at least the temporary platform, is being reinstalled. So this tells me two things. One, as you saw in my video yesterday about what are they doing on the south end, this is definitely temporary because they don't want to install the steel structure knowing that the south wall is going to be coming down in the near future. So really great to see. Another thing that you're going to see, as you can see by this image here, is up at the battery cathode plant where that west foundation is now going vertical with steel. There's about 3 or 4 columns that are already up. They're kind of triangular shaped columns, showing that this is going to be a single floor as the permit shows. And they're also, as you can see here, doing more work on the footings in and around this area on the south end while they're doing the vertical construction on the north end. And then the last thing I want to give a highlight on, as you can see here on the far southwest of the production or the construction site across the highway, is the grading that they're doing for that west support facility, and it's really coming along. The geotextile membranes have already been installed, and now they're putting the dirt on top of that. So they're nearing the point where the grade will be completed and we'll see some construction. But otherwise, as I mentioned, there's a lot of activity going on. We're definitely back at the work week and full speed ahead. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.
A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patreons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. This morning we'll start off on the south end, and if you saw my video yesterday, you should now know quite a bit about what is going on here on this section and what they are preparing to do. It looks like most of the concrete sections have now been removed, with just a couple right here in the middle of the screen remaining. It also looks like they've been doing some excavation in this small hole, possibly related to removing some of the underground steel corrugated pipe that used to be here, but is now being completely removed so that they can move ahead with construction. Here is another big change. As you can see, the temporary platform is being reassembled here for the third floor of the General Assembly. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, this tells me a couple of things. One, they're putting the temporary platform here rather than the old steel one, so they suggest that this will not be here for very long. It also reinforces what we talked about in my video yesterday about the fact that this south wall at some point may be completely removed to join with the new construction in the section that we're flying over right now. You can also see some more of the blue water pipes, some more dirt piles being set up, some more of the steel corrugated pipe over here in a couple of different diameters, and then more of the trenching work to complete the installation of the bypasses. The corrugated pipe that goes around the new foundation is located. As we approach up to the southeast section of the stamping machine structure, you can see the end of the new pipe where it will be eventually joined to the old pipe. And also you can see more of the stamping press parts, the crates that have been delivered, these large blue items, blue covered items, and also just some more activity here on this side of the stamping machine structure today. As I turn the drone back to the southwest, this is a good overview of how this south end appears. A lot more work continues to prepare this site for future construction. You can see these small telephone poles and these green utility boxes are still waiting to be removed. And also you can see these trench boxes on the south end near where the pipe has been installed on the south end as well. Good view of the steel materials just south of the Cyber Pond, and let's get ready to head over the highway and take a look at the activity on that side of the site today. Activity continues here with the earthwork to prepare this grade for future construction of the West Support Facility. Also in the bottom of the screen you can see there's a new checkpoint that has been set up right here on the middle of River Road. Now I'll bring the drone down a little bit lower and you can get a good idea of what is going on here. They've installed the geotextile membranes. You can see a little bit on the left with those two white trucks getting dirt put into them, and they're filling the dirt on top of the geotextile membranes because that's part of the stabilizing and strengthening of the soil to allow for future construction. So it looks like they're making really good progress on preparing this grade, and soon it will be in a state ready for construction, which is pretty cool to see. I'm looking forward to finding out how this is going to look and what type of construction that they're going to be doing over here. As I turn the drone back towards the north, you can get a sense for how the western half of this section of the construction site looks right now, where they're getting some of the dirt, and also this prepared surface where on the north side is where they're continuing to store some materials, some trailers, some equipment, and this continues to shrink as more and more of this is moved away. And on the south end, as we're flying over right now, this is that warehouse on wheels extension on the west side. And from what I can tell is the trucks here are generally empty, and I think that the flow is that the filled trucks are on the east side, they unload in the factory, and then they bring the empty ones over to this side for temporary storage. So let's get ready to go back over to the main site and take a look at some more action over there. So as you fly over the south portion, right over the Colorado River, this gives you a good overview from this vantage point of how that south end is continuing to transform and all of the pipe work that is being done to make room for that new foundation. Also, directly underneath the drone, this is a good view of the work that's underway for preparing to put the electrical conduits under the ground into operation and then be able to remove these short or the lower level power lines and some of the other electrical utilities, which is necessary to allow that construction to begin as well. So as I continue to move a little bit more towards the north, I'll give you a good view from the west looking east over this section, just to really get a good idea of how it continues to be prepared, and that diamond end shape that mimics the end of the building is starting to emerge. I would estimate another couple of weeks of work before we'll start seeing some piers and other supports being put into the ground to allow for a larger and more dense foundation to be installed. But this is going to be something really interesting to see. And again, if you haven't seen my video from the 3rd of January, I recommend you do that because it gives you a lot of information. Here on the east side, I wanted to take a look at what activity was going on in this clearing. Looks like more dirt is being delivered here. It's either to raise the grade or, as they've been doing over the last 6 to 8 months, is storing dirt here until it's used somewhere else. But this continues to see that activity, and it's good to see that they continue to use this area, which means maybe more construction on other parts of the site. I wanted to give you a good view at this staging location. On the bottom of the screen, you can see the trailers with the scraps from the stamping machine structure. And also, it looks like these milling machines have been moved closer together. Haven't been moved inside the factory yet. They've been out here for quite some time. But I wanted to get a closer view because it looked like there was only one, but I can see here that both of them have been just moved closer together. I'm going to try to come back and give you a good view on the east side of both the stamping and the body in white section. And what they are doing here on the south end is continuing to prepare and move the parts for the stamping machine presses into the stamping 2 or the stamping extension on the south end. And that continues to progress, as I can see a lot more of the materials have been moved inside. And then here, what I think I'm capturing is some deliveries of some robots. And you can see by the Drive Tesla article that was completed about a week and a half ago, they talked about these KUKA robots arriving. And I think that's what we're seeing actually arrive here today. And I don't know if these are going to be moved up to that platform or just inside. They have both the forklift and the crane. But anyway, it was fortunate be able to capture those robots arriving. So as we fly over the roof of the body in white, I'll give you a quick view of this HVAC duct and opening and how it looks today. It looks like the crews are getting ready to start work. You can also see that many more of those grates have now been installed on that opening, and that will continue until this is completed, and then they'll have to put the top sections of those 8 ducts on. And be good to see how that progresses. So let's get ready to go over to the west side of General Assembly. So I thought I'll drop the drone down here and we'll see the progress and the changes near this west main entrance. As you can see, the work on the exterior continues. All of the concrete has been removed that they have been saw cutting. They're doing some plumbing reconfiguration near the wall. And it looks like they're starting to do some more trenching right near the road. Also, I'll give you the view of this landscaped section where it appears that there's 6 squares of concrete with different colors, maybe for testing, and then that white obelisk kind of device on that pallet on the grass. So it's interesting to see what this will turn out to be, but I'll keep monitoring it for you. As we continue a little bit further to the north, you can see that about half of the concrete has now been poured. In my last video, we saw them setting out the forms and preparing the rebar. Looks like they're starting to do that same work on the more northerly section. And then once this is completed, I'll expect to see those temporary panels in the wall starting to be removed so that they can extend the cargo or the receiving doors. And then here, these are the new receiving doors with the new load levelers have been recently installed, and you can see that trailers are already using this expanded receiving door section. So let's get ready to go up over towards the north end of the building and take a look at the activity up there. So as I round the corner, pay attention to this yard truck just at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to try to track it really quickly, but as you can see, there's a couple of Model Y bodies that are being pulled along with some other equipment. And it was really a fast-moving opportunity that I took, and I wanted to see if I could tell if they were 4680 or 2170 variants. Really not sure with the brief look that I had, but I hope that you like that quick diversion from the planned drone flight path. But anyway, I'm going to turn the drone back a little bit towards the west because of the sun is at a very difficult angle, and then we'll see what the activity looks like on the north end of the building. And looks like they continue to move some of the HVAC ductings. Those are those ones wrapped in red and some other components in green and blue up to the second floor, and a few more interesting deliveries by this one platform. As we continue to look a little bit towards the east, I will turn the drone continually around, and then we'll go up to the electrical switchyard and take a look at the activity that is going on up in this section of the construction site today. So when we arrive here and look around, I was kind of hoping to see if some new deliveries, particularly the transformers, had happened yet, but I don't see that. But it is good to see there's a little bit of activity in and amongst the steel portions of the electrical switchyard, and also good views with the way the sun is of how this entire section looks today. And I don't know if this is at a short pause waiting for additional equipment, or if it's just because of the new year and we're just getting back into activity, but hopefully we'll start seeing a little bit more action here. Right now it looks like there's small dirt being put into the cable tray trench, and that may signal that they're getting ready to put concrete into this portion of that cable tray trench. Which is good to see. And they're also moving some of the dirt from in and amongst the steel over to that section as well. Also still waiting to see if these segments of the tall steel power poles, once they are when they're going to be installed and assembled, and hopefully we'll see that pretty soon. I'll continue to fly back along the electrical switchyard at a little bit higher altitude just so you can get an idea of what this looks like from this vantage point. And again, looks like they are doing some preparation work in this lower section for that 7th A-frame. But let's proceed back towards the south. We'll fly over the Tesla temporary offices in these trailers, and we'll take a look at how the east parking lot looks today and some of the east side of the building. One thing that's very evident is that there's a lot more vehicles than we saw in the last video right on the 2nd of January, which was a holiday. And then the other thing that you can note is that the new vehicle transport and staging location is once again very busy. At least 4 trucks at this moment in time picking up Model Ys. There's a lot more that have been produced and brought over here in preparation for transportation. And there was at least 4 more of these trucks queued up outside of Giga Texas waiting for their time for arrival. As we approach this section of the casting machine structure, you can just get a good sense of how many castings have been made. In my previous video, we saw inside was overflowing with castings as well. So much so that, as you can see here by the power line towers, there's more of these castings being installed a little bit further to the south. This is a good view of this section of the concrete apron that is getting ready for rebar, it looks like, and some plumbing work, and then they'll re-pour the concrete. And these 2 other apron sections, the one on the right looks like there's some still extensive plumbing work going on, but the one on the left looks like it's almost ready for concrete to be poured. So progress on these continues. As I bring the drone down a little bit at a lower altitude, I'll give you a good view of these superchargers. There's 32 of them. It looks like most of the installation is completed, but we're waiting for what I believe to be some of the electrical conduit being run over there, and then hopefully we'll see if they put a awning or a top to that installation. Here is the intersection that's being reconfigured. Also, you can see in the middle of the screen where they're doing some of that trenching, and that may be the conduit with the electrical connections to make those superchargers operational. I'll fly over the new car and transportation lot again on the way up to the battery cathode plant, where we'll see quite a bit of interesting and exciting changes today. So close to the drone on the south side of this foundation, you can see the amount of steel is continuing to grow as more and more deliveries are made. Work on the foundations and the footings continues. And also, for the first time, we see vertical steel construction underway here for this new building. So here's some good closer in views. You can see that these columns are a little bit different design than we've seen in other parts of Giga Texas. It just tells me it is a different style of building. It also confirms that for the most part this is going to be a single story but very tall structure, and we'll also get a chance to see some different kinds of equipment installed here with that heavily reinforced pier section. But I'll zoom in so you can get a look at some of the activity with the workers installing these. It looks like 3 of the triangular columns on the left and then a smaller, thinner column on the north side. Also, you can get a sense for the amount of steel that's moved over in and amongst the footings. So that says that the vertical construction is expected to go pretty quickly. More work on the foundations on either side of this heavily reinforced pier section. And as always, take a look at the workers to get a good idea of the scale of each of these footings that they are constructing. So as we move back towards the south, I'm going to give you a couple of views of the steel on this end, and you can see a truck delivering even more. So it looks like the pace of steel deliveries here is definitely on the uptick, which also indicates to me that the vertical construction of steel on this building is going to go quite rapidly. As I turn back to the north, one other thing I want to show you is you can see the white plumbing lines sticking up in those red fences. You can also see that more footings are going to be built south of that line. So that means that the building is going to be a little bit longer than I originally had expected. And I'll just give you a different view again of this vertical construction, trying to put the sun in a little bit better angle so you can see what it looks like on this side. You can also see some of those X bracings on those columns, and we'll probably see more of that as the building continues to develop. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see more of these iron pipes and the manifolds systems that they are constructing on the ground and then bringing up and installing onto this steel structure. And it looks like some of those are reaching up from the ground slab up to the structure as well. So let's proceed a little bit further to the north and take a look at this underground water pipe installation. Last video you saw that this was completely flooded with groundwater and rainwater. It looks like that's all been drained out. The floating pipe has been corrected, and now they're working to complete that installation. As we move up to the north material staging location, also some more of the dirt excavation is underway as they continue to work on the grade here. And you can also get a sense for the amount of materials being stored here and some of the temporary workshops and some other of the equipment that is in this section as well. I'll bring the drone back down so you can get a good view of this section of earthwork that is reclaiming at least the north part of what was the water detention ponds. And I don't know if it's going to continue to extend south of that new berm-like item on the north end or not, so that'll be something that I'll continue to monitor. As I fly to the south on the east side, this gives you a good idea of how this side of the building appears. This material staging location right in the middle of the screen has gotten some more trailers and some other equipment installed. And then I will give you a good overview from a little bit higher altitude of the entire battery cathode plant and both the east side material staging and the west side new building construction that is going on. So hopefully you enjoy this little bit of view of how this entire section is developing. So that'll wrap it up for today, the 4th of January. I hope that you enjoyed the video and the information. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the week.